God's chosen ones, you have done what they said was impossible. You have walked through storms that should have broken you, faced enemies who schemed against you, and endured trials designed to stop you in your tracks. But instead of falling, you rose higher. Instead of giving up, you pushed forward, and now the very people who doubted you, who laughed at your struggles, who whispered behind your back, they are running in fear. Why? Because they never expected you to make it. They thought you were weak, insignificant, just another soul struggling to survive. But they didn't realize that you carry divine favor, that you are protected, anointed, and chosen for a mission far greater than their understanding. Every time they set a trap for you, they fell into it themselves. Every time they tried to curse you, the blessing of God over your life turned it into something greater. Now, they don't know what to do. They watch you rise, but they can't follow. They try to understand, but they can't comprehend. And deep inside, fear grips them, because they now see what you have always known. No one can stand against a child of God. If you have ever felt underestimated, if you know that God has carried you through impossible situations, type 777 in the comments as a testimony of your unstoppable faith. And to those who have supported this message through super thanks, your kindness and generosity are seen and deeply appreciated. May God bless you abundantly and return it to you tenfold. But here's the real question. Why are they so afraid now? What have they seen in you that makes them tremble? There's something happening in the spiritual realm that many don't understand. But you, God's chosen one, you are walking in a power that cannot be denied. Let's uncover the truth behind their fear, because what's coming next is even greater than what has already happened. God's chosen ones, you did the impossible. Haters can't keep up. They are running in fear. Chosen ones, gather close. Do you feel it? That crackling energy in the air, the weight of something unseen yet undeniably present. You are not ordinary, and deep down you've always known it. There is a fire inside you, placed there by God Himself, an ancient, unshakable force that refuses to be dimmed. And that, my dear ones, is precisely why the world watches you with such intensity. Some in awe, others in silent resentment. Have you ever noticed how people seem either drawn to you or deeply unsettled by your presence? It is because when you carry divine purpose, you expose everything around you, both light and darkness. Being chosen is not about wearing a crown or boasting of greatness. It's not about proving anything to anyone. The truly chosen do not need validation. Instead, they walk with an unshakable knowing, a quiet confidence that rattles those who live in mediocrity. And what happens when you step fully into that power? Those who underestimated you start running in fear. They believed you were weak, that you would break under pressure. But instead, they watch in disbelief as you rise, as you transform, as you accomplish what they thought was impossible. Do you remember Joseph, the dreamer? His own brothers plotted against him, consumed by jealousy, convinced they could bury his destiny. They threw him into a pit, sold him as a slave, and thought they had erased him from the story. But what they didn't realize was that God was using every betrayal, every hardship, to shape him for something greater. Years later, when famine struck, those same brothers had to come before him. Now a ruler in Egypt, begging for help. Genesis 50:20. Can you imagine their shock? The one they had tried to destroy was the very one they now depended on. How many people in your life have tried to dismiss you, only to find themselves needing the very strength they once mocked? And here's the thing about you. You don't need to seek revenge. You don't need to fight battles in the way the world expects. Your mere existence, your resilience, your unwavering faith is enough to send your enemies scattering. Those who once ridiculed you will find themselves confused, wondering how they lost control of the narrative. But the truth is, they never had control. God did. Look beyond Scripture. History itself echoes this truth. Have you ever heard of Elon Musk? Before becoming one of the most influential figures in technology and space exploration, he was laughed at, doubted, and even forced out of his own company. Critics dismissed his ideas as impossible, labeling him as reckless and unrealistic. And yet, time and time again, he proved them wrong. He didn't engage in pointless arguments. He let his actions speak. Today, the same world that mocked him now watches in amazement as he redefines entire industries. Does this sound familiar? How many times have people told you that you were dreaming too big, that you would never succeed? How many times have they tried to push you down, only to later watch you thrive beyond their comprehension? Understand this. When God places a calling on your life, no amount of opposition can erase it. Your fire is not just for warmth, it is for refining, for purifying, for illuminating the path God has set before you. And those who attempt to stand in your way, they will be forced to step aside, because when you move with divine purpose, obstacles turn into stepping stones. Chosen one, will you dim your light to make others comfortable, or will you step fully into the power God has given you? Let them talk, let them doubt, let them scheme. In the end, they will be left grasping at the air, wondering how they got burned by a fire they never saw coming. The fire of purpose, the fire of destiny, the fire of God within you. So let me ask you, right here, right now, to affirm this truth with unwavering conviction. I am chosen. I am unstoppable. I am both gentle and powerful. Say it again, not as a whisper, but as a declaration that echoes through every fiber of your being. Because when the world tries to shake you, when doubts creep in, when the voices of haters try to drown out your calling, you must remember who you are. The naysayers, the doubters, the ones who scoff at your quiet confidence, they have no idea who they're dealing with. They mistake your stillness for passivity, your humility for weakness. But they don't understand that your silence is not submission. It is precision. It is the patience of a warrior who knows that victory is not won in haste, but in strategy. And when the time comes, you will move, you will strike, not out of anger, but out of divine necessity. Do you recall David before he was crowned king? As a shepherd boy, overlooked and underestimated, even his own family saw him as nothing more than a child tending to sheep. But David was no ordinary shepherd. He had been prepared in the wilderness, trained in solitude, made strong in the unseen battles. So when Goliath stood before Israel, towering over warriors who trembled in fear, David did not flinch. He didn't need a grand display of force. A single stone in the hands of the chosen was enough to bring down a giant. 1 Samuel 17:45-50. And when he struck, it was decisive. Does this remind you of yourself? How many times have you been underestimated, dismissed, or told that you weren't ready? The world sees outward appearances, but God sees what is within you. Your enemies assume you're unarmed, unaware that you've been sharpening your weapons in the quiet places. And when the moment arrives, your actions will not just surprise them, they will rewrite the entire battlefield. But why do you, as a chosen one, unsettle people so deeply? Why does your presence alone shake the ground beneath the feet of those who thrive in mediocrity? It is because you do not conform. You refuse to shrink yourself. The status quo finds comfort in complacency, but you were not made to fit into the mold of the ordinary. You are a disruptor, a force of transformation, a living testament to what happens when divine power meets relentless faith. Look at the world beyond Scripture. History itself bears witness to this truth. Take Nikola Tesla, a man of extraordinary intelligence, who saw the world not as it was, but as it could be. The greatest minds of his time mocked his ideas, dismissed his vision of wireless electricity and limitless energy, branding him as delusional. But Tesla was not seeking validation. He was operating on a level they could not comprehend. And long after his critics faded into obscurity, his work became the foundation of modern technology. His quiet brilliance, his ability to see beyond the obvious, made him a threat to those who were comfortable in their limitations. Does this sound familiar? How many times have you sensed the intentions of those around you before they ever spoke a word? How often have you recognized patterns, predicted betrayals, seen through the empty words of those who pretended to be allies? This is the advantage of being chosen. You do not just walk through life blindly. You are given vision, discernment, divine strategy. The usual weapons used against the ordinary, gossip, deceit, manipulation, they do not work on you. You see the attack before it is launched. You hear the lie before it is spoken. You read the script of your enemies before they ever deliver their lines. And this is why you are feared. Not because you seek conflict, not because you wish harm upon anyone, but because you cannot be controlled. You are simply too powerful to be ignored. They can pretend you don't exist. They can try to silence you. But once a chosen one steps into the room, everything rearranges itself. Your presence commands attention, not by force, but by divine authority. So tell me, chosen one, will you shrink yourself to make them comfortable, or will you rise? Will you hesitate when God calls you forward, or will you walk boldly into your purpose? Because whether they like it or not, whether they are ready or not, your time has come. Let them whisper, let them plot, let them underestimate you. It only makes the moment of revelation even more powerful. And when the time is right, when God signals now, you will strike. And let's take a moment to talk about that word, enemy. Have you ever noticed that you don't even have to seek out battles? They seem to find you. You are not someone who craves conflict. The chosen walk in peace, content in their calling, unbothered by the noise of the world. But every now and then, someone tests your patience. And that's when they realize, too late, that stepping against a chosen one is not like stepping against the average person. Why? Because you do not fight alone. You are backed by divine power. The moment someone tries to drag you into their pit, the moment they attempt to undermine your presence, they are playing a dangerous game. Have you ever had someone underestimate you, thinking you were an easy target, only for them to be stunned when you didn't break, didn't fold, but instead stood stronger than before? That is the fire of the chosen, not destructive, but refining, revealing, unstoppable. Do you remember David? The world saw him as a shepherd boy, insignificant, unqualified for battle. Even Goliath laughed in his face. But what did David do? Did he argue? Did he waste energy defending his worth? Number. He let his actions speak, and with a single, well-placed stone, he brought down a giant that others feared to face. 1 Samuel 17:45-50. What if David had let their doubts discourage him? What if he had let their laughter silence his faith? Now ask yourself, are you letting the words of others hold you back from stepping into your purpose? But listen, being chosen does not mean reacting to every battle. Do you know the true mark of power? Restraint. You are not reckless, swinging at every provocation. The enemy would love to see you waste your strength in meaningless fights. But wisdom says wait, watch, move when it matters. Can you recall a moment when you held back, when you let patience do the work for you, only to watch things fall perfectly into place without you lifting a finger? That is divine strategy. And yet, here's the thing about haters. They mistake kindness for weakness every single time. They push, they provoke, convinced that you will never push back. But then, suddenly, they realize they have awakened the sleeping giant. And by the time the truth dawns on them, it is already too late. Do you remember Esther? She was in the palace, silent, observing, waiting. She didn't act rashly, didn't speak too soon, but when the moment came, she stepped forward with unstoppable purpose. With divine wisdom, she exposed Haman's wicked plot and turned the entire kingdom upside down. Esther 7:3-10. What if she had acted impulsively? What if she had spoken too soon or too late? Timing is everything. Are you trusting God's timing for your battles, or are you letting impatience move you ahead of Him? Now let's step into the present. Think of Michael Jordan, the greatest basketball player of all time. Do you think he responded to every critic, every doubter, every insult? Number. He let his game speak. Opponents tried to rattle him, but instead of reacting emotionally, he used their doubt as fuel. He waited, watched, observed, then struck at the perfect moment. How many times have you seen someone underestimate you, thinking you wouldn't rise, only for them to later watch in shock as you soared higher than they ever imagined? So now, I ask you, when they doubt you, will you let their words shake you? When they try to pull you down, will you let them dictate your strength? Or will you stand firm, knowing the power that surges beneath your quiet surface? When you feel the weight of people's disbelief, when their disrespect tries to wear you down, affirm again and again, I carry ancient power. I move with silent strength. I will not be underestimated. What if you stopped worrying about the opinions of those who could never match your level? What if you truly walked in the fullness of your calling, without hesitation, without apology? Speak it, live it. Because the haters will keep underestimating you. They have no concept of the power, wisdom, and intelligence that lies within you. And by the time they finally see it for what it is, they will already be standing in the aftermath of a battlefield they never saw coming. Now, let's talk about why your very presence disrupts the comfort zones of those around you. Have you ever walked into a room and felt the shift, the side glances, the hushed whispers, the subtle tension in the air? That's not your imagination. That's the energy shift that happens when someone chosen steps into a space. Why does this happen? Because when you carry divine favor, when you refuse to conform to mediocrity, you become a mirror, reflecting back to others the life they could be living if they stepped into their full potential. Your presence forces people to confront their own choices, and for those who have settled, that is deeply uncomfortable. Have you ever noticed that the people who ridicule your dreams the loudest are often the ones who secretly wish they had the courage to pursue their own? Why do they try to tear you down instead of rising with you? It's because you are proof that settling is a choice. You are living evidence of what happens when someone refuses to shrink, refuses to compromise, refuses to accept less than what God has promised. And instead of seeing you as inspiration, they treat you as a threat. Look at Joseph once again. His dreams weren't just his own, they were God-given visions of his destiny. But what happened when he shared them? His own brothers, instead of celebrating him, hated him for it. Genesis 37:5-8. Why? Because his dreams exposed their own lack of vision. His greatness did not come at their expense, yet they saw him as a threat simply because he dared to believe in something greater. Does this sound familiar? How many times have people dismissed your calling, laughed at your ambitions, whispered behind your back, not because your dreams were impossible, but because they were too afraid to dream themselves? And here's where things get even more interesting. Those same people who mock you, who belittle you, who try to convince others that you're too much or crazy for aiming higher, they do it not because they truly believe you will fail, but because they fear that you won't. If they can convince the world that your vision is foolish, they don't have to confront the reality that they've been living beneath their potential all along. But here's the truth they don't see coming. You keep moving, you keep building, you keep elevating. You don't waste time arguing, you don't need their validation. And one day they look up and everything they said was impossible is now standing before them as undeniable reality. The jaws drop, the whispers hush, and suddenly the same people who once doubted you now want to learn from you. Haven't you seen this happen before? The moment you start succeeding, the very people who tried to break you suddenly act like they've supported you all along. The ones who rolled their eyes at your vision now act as if they believed in you from the start. But let me make one thing perfectly clear. Being a chosen one does not mean arrogance. It does not mean looking down on others or walking with pride. You carry compassion. You carry understanding. You want people to rise alongside you. You are willing to extend a hand, to lift others up, to share wisdom freely with those who are ready to receive it. But here's where the duality of the chosen ones comes in. If someone tries to sabotage you, belittle you, or treat you as if you are ordinary, they will learn the hard way. Because while you love deeply, you also burn fiercely. That is what makes you dangerous. You can elevate those who walk with you, or if someone continuously disrespects you, you will dismantle every illusion they built about who they thought you were. Think about Jesus. He was full of mercy, grace, and divine wisdom. He welcomed the brokenhearted, the lost, and the seekers with open arms. But he had zero tolerance for deception, hypocrisy, and dishonesty. He called out the Pharisees with boldness, exposing their schemes and tearing down their false authority. Matthew 23:27-28. Do you think that made him weak? Or did it prove that true power lies in knowing when to extend grace and when to speak unshakable truth? Look at history. Take Steve Jobs, for example, the man who revolutionized technology, who saw the world differently. Early in his career, people mocked his vision. They said his ideas were ridiculous, that personal computers would never change the world. But what did he do? He didn't waste time defending himself. He built, he created, he pursued his purpose without hesitation. And by the time his doubters realized they were wrong, it was too late. The world had already been reshaped by his genius. Are you letting the voices of others distract you? Are you allowing the doubts and insecurities of those around you to make you question your path? Or are you walking boldly, knowing that one day everything you are building now will stand as undeniable proof of your calling? Say this with me. I am a chosen one. I walk in divine power. I am a disruptor of mediocrity. I will not be underestimated. Let them talk. Let them doubt. Let them stay cocooned in their comfort zones. But you will rise. And by the time they realize what you've built, by the time they finally understand the power you carry, they will already be standing in the aftermath of a world you have transformed. Never forget the power within you, and never be ashamed of it. Too many voices in the world will try to convince you that staying unnoticed is wisdom, that blending in is the same as humility. But true humility isn't about making yourself smaller, it's about walking in your greatness without needing to prove it. Can a mountain shrink to make the plains feel more comfortable? Of course not. And just like that mountain, you were made to stand tall, unshaken by the winds of opinion. Here's the truth. You don't have to announce your power for it to be felt. Those who walk in divine purpose don't need to boast. They simply are. And that is what frustrates those who seek to control you. Have you ever noticed how people mistake your quiet nature for weakness? How they assume that because you don't seek attention, you must not be significant? But what happens when you finally speak? When you choose your moment and release words that cut through deception like a blade of fire? It's the same way Jesus operated when faced with those who doubted him. The Pharisees, the religious leaders of his time, constantly sought to trap him in his words, believing they could outwit the Son of God. Yet, time and again, he turned their own reasoning against them. When they questioned his authority, asking whether it was lawful to pay taxes to Caesar, he simply responded, "Give back to Caesar what is Caesar's, and to God what is God's." Mark 12:17. A single statement silenced an entire crowd. No shouting, no debating, just undeniable truth. And what was their reaction? Shock, silence, the realization that he was operating on a level they could never touch. Does this sound familiar? How many times have people spoken over you, thinking they had the upper hand, only for you to calmly dismantle their arguments in a single sentence? How often have they laughed at you, only to later realize they were the ones who had miscalculated? That moment, the widening of their eyes, the nervous shifting, the realization that they have underestimated you is almost inevitable, because the chosen ones do not merely win battles, they reshape the battlefield. Look at someone like Albert Einstein. He was once dismissed as a slow learner, even considered unintelligent by his teachers. They didn't understand his quiet observation, his deep thinking. And then, when the moment came, he presented ideas that shattered conventional understanding. Suddenly, those who had overlooked him were now studying him, seeking his wisdom, recognizing the brilliance they once ignored. That is the paradox your enemies can't comprehend. How can someone be so quiet yet so powerful? How can they appear so unassuming yet hold so much authority? They expect you to react impulsively, to get caught up in emotion, to meet them in their chaos. But you remain steady. That's what truly shakes them. When they throw insults, you stand unmoved. When they try to manipulate you, you see right through them. And when the moment is right, you speak. Not in anger, but in authority. That's why you don't need to fight petty battles. You don't need to scream to be heard. A storm does not announce its arrival with words. It simply moves, and everything in its path is changed. You, chosen one, are that storm. You carry revelation, transformation, and, when necessary, righteous fire. So tell me, will you let the doubters define you? Will you shrink yourself to make them feel safe? Or will you embrace your power fully, walking in wisdom, speaking only when it is time, watching as the world around you scrambles to catch up? The choice is yours. Let's lock in another affirmation right now. I am calm under pressure. My intelligence shines through silence. My power speaks for itself. Carry that with you, because it is both your shield and your weapon. Intelligence combined with composure is a force that dismantles entire strongholds of doubt. Those who oppose you may see themselves as warriors, wielding petty insults and half-baked rumors as if they were sharp swords. But here's their mistake. They assume you can be wounded by the shallow tools of the world. They think that if they strike your pride, they can halt your momentum. What they don't realize is that your pride isn't built on applause, approval, or temporary victories. It is anchored in something far deeper, a divine certainty that you are exactly where you need to be, walking a path that was designed by God Himself. When Nehemiah was rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem, his enemies mocked him, spread false rumors, and even attempted to intimidate him into stopping the work. But what did Nehemiah do? Did he engage in their foolishness? He simply responded, I am doing a great work and cannot come down. Nehemiah 6:3. He refused to descend to their level because he understood that his mission was far more important than entertaining distractions. And because he stayed focused, the walls were rebuilt in record time, leaving his enemies dumbfounded. Does this sound familiar? How many times have you watched people waste their energy trying to provoke you, thinking they could pull you into their chaos? Meanwhile, while they were scheming, you were building. While they were talking, you were executing. By the time they realized what was happening, you had already soared to another level, one they couldn't reach even if they tried. Now, let's bring this into the modern world. Ever heard of J.K. Rowling? Before becoming one of the most successful authors in history, she was rejected over a dozen times, criticized, and even told her work was unworthy of attention. People doubted her, dismissed her, and assumed she would fade into obscurity. But instead of fighting back with words, she simply kept writing. And by the time her critics turned around, she had built a literary empire that changed the world. And here's the thing, when the doubters finally realize they were wrong, many of them won't admit it. Instead, they will continue to throw stones from below, hoping to bring you down. But what happens when you throw dirt at the sky? It falls right back on you. That's the fate of those who waste their energy resenting the success of the chosen ones. But let's be clear, you are not called to be cruel. You are not here to trample those who cannot keep up. However, you are called to stand firm, to refuse to let anyone reduce you to something ordinary when you know you've been marked for something extraordinary. Because if someone actively tries to tear you down, they will learn the hard way that the fire inside you is not one to be toyed with. We do not burn with bitterness, but we burn with divine purpose. Our fire is not one of destruction, but of transformation. Yet, let it be known, if you come too close with ill intent, if you step into the space of the chosen with wickedness in your heart, that fire will consume everything false, and in the end, the only thing left standing will be the truth. Let's take a closer look at the mind of a hater. Have you ever noticed how they assume you're playing by the same small, predictable rulebook they follow? They live in a world of rigid categories, winners and losers, power and submission, status and obscurity. In their minds, success is a zero-sum game, and the only way up is by pushing someone else down. But here's where they make their fatal mistake. They assume you think the same way. They have no concept of the depth, wisdom, and multifaceted brilliance that resides in the mind of a chosen one. While they waste their energy competing for temporary validation, you are out here shaping the bigger picture, making moves they won't even begin to comprehend for years. So, what do? They approach you with petty manipulations, with backhanded compliments disguised as flattery, with calculated attempts to undermine your confidence. They set their little traps thinking you will stumble. But what they fail to realize is that you are seeing right through their script. You don't just hear their words, you discern the insecurity behind them. You recognize the fear hidden beneath their bravado. You see their need for control, their desperation to prove something, their fragile egos held together by nothing more than illusion. To you, they are an open book. And to them, you remain an enigma, unreadable, unpredictable, untouchable. That is power. Not in brute force, not in loud displays, but in silent awareness. You don't even need to announce that you see through them. You simply observe, take note, and keep moving. While they scramble to get under your skin, you're already 10 steps ahead, operating at a level they can't even conceive. This is exactly what happened when Jesus stood before Pontius Pilate. The governor, a man accustomed to power struggles and political games, couldn't understand why Jesus wasn't fighting back, wasn't pleading for his life. "Do you refuse to speak to me?" Pilate asked. "Don't you realize I have power either to free you or to crucify you?" And yet Jesus, standing in perfect authority, simply answered, "You would have no power over me if it were not given to you from above." John 19:10-11. With one sentence, he shattered the illusion of Pilate's control. He exposed the truth. Earthly power is nothing compared to divine purpose. Now, think about your own life. How many times have people tried to test you, convinced they held some power over you? How many times have they attempted to provoke you, only to be met with your unwavering composure? At first, some take the hint and back away, realizing they've stepped into a battle they cannot win. But others, blinded by their own arrogance, refuse to retreat. They double down, convinced that if they just push a little harder, they will find a crack in your foundation. Those are the ones who learn the lesson the hard way, because coming against a chosen one is like walking into a thunderstorm, thinking an umbrella will protect you. It doesn't matter how prepared they think they are. Once the lightning strikes, it's game over. Just ask Pharaoh. He thought he could outmaneuver Moses, thought he could challenge God's will. Plague after plague, he refused to back down, hardening his heart, convinced he still had the upper hand. But in the end, when the Red Sea closed in behind God's people and swallowed Pharaoh's army whole, he realized too late that he had picked a fight he was never meant to win. Exodus 14:26-28. Chosen one, will you allow the distractions of small-minded people to slow you down? Or will you keep your focus, knowing that your victory is already written? The world will always have those who try to drag you into their games, but your power is in your ability to rise above. Let them play checkers while you move like a grandmaster in chess. Let them whisper, plot, and scheme, because while they are busy trying to decipher you, you're already walking into the future God has prepared for you. And by the time they realize it, the storm has already passed, and you are standing on higher ground. So, if you're sitting there wondering why certain people seem determined to challenge you, don't waste your energy worrying. Understand this. It's not about you, it's about them. Their limited perspective keeps them trapped in small thinking, and when they see you, they can't comprehend how someone so unassuming can hold such quiet, undeniable power. To them, power is loud, flashy, attention-seeking. They expect strength to announce itself with force. But you carry an entirely different kind of power, one that doesn't need validation, one that doesn't seek permission. Let them underestimate you. Let them walk into the storm unprepared. It is not your responsibility to warn them. Your responsibility is to stand firm in your truth. That's what sets the chosen apart. We don't waste time trying to convince others of what is already evident in our presence. We carry a wisdom that cannot be found in textbooks, a knowledge that cannot be measured by traditional standards. It is the wisdom that we are more than our physical bodies, more than our circumstances, more than the obstacles placed before us. It is the knowledge that we are co-creators of our destiny, that no matter how bleak the external world may appear, we have the ability to bend reality to align with our purpose through faith, relentless work, and a mindset that refuses to bow. This is what Jesus demonstrated time and time again. When he stood before the storm with his disciples in panic, he did not scream, did not flail. He simply spoke, "Peace, be still," and the winds obeyed. Mark 4:39. That is the power of one who understands their divine authority. A chosen one does not need to react in fear, does not need to fight battles that are beneath them. A chosen one simply moves, knowing that even the elements must fall in line with the purpose God has placed on their life. When you walk in that kind of wisdom, you radiate a calm assurance that unsettles people who thrive on drama, on conflict, on chaos. Have you ever noticed how some people seem almost frustrated by your refusal to engage in pettiness? How they poke and prod trying to get a reaction, only to be left staring at your unshaken composure. It infuriates them because they need the noise, the distraction, the spectacle to feel in control. But you don't give them that satisfaction. You don't stoop to gossip. Don't indulge in petty rivalries because you see those for what they are. Distractions designed to pull you away from your mission. And that's precisely why the chosen are feared, because you cannot distract someone who is truly locked into their purpose. Throw a stumbling block in our way, and we will turn it into a stepping stone. Spread rumors, and we will transform negativity into fuel. Try to shut a door on us, and we will carve out an entirely new path. Do you think David was intimidated when Goliath mocked him? Did he shrink back when the giant towered over him with arrogance? Number because David knew something Goliath didn't. He wasn't fighting alone. With a single, well-placed stone, he brought down an enemy who thought he was untouchable. 1 Samuel 17:45-50. And let's take a modern example. Think about Nelson Mandela, a man who was thrown into prison for 27 years, cast aside by those who wanted to silence him. But what happened? He didn't break. He didn't crumble. He emerged stronger, wiser, more determined than ever. And when the world finally turned back to look at him, they saw not a broken man, but a leader who had already shaped the course of history. His enemies thought they were burying him, but they were only planting a seed that would grow into something unstoppable. So yes, we operate on a higher frequency, and yes, that can be intimidating to those who choose to live in the shallow end of life. But don't mistake our confidence for arrogance. We are not saying we are better than anyone. We are simply saying we refuse to live beneath our potential. We are willing to tap into something greater, something deeper, something most people never dare to explore. And that is what makes us unstoppable. So tell me, chosen one, will you allow the noise of doubters to distract you, or will you stand firm in the truth of who you are? The choice is yours. Break free from the mental chains society imposes. Yes, we do. And that single decision alone sets us apart from the crowd. While others remain shackled by fear, conditioned to follow invisible rules that keep them small, we choose a different path, a higher path. The world may try to convince you that you must fit into its mold, that you must think, speak, and live within its narrow confines. But the chosen ones know better. We were never meant to be caged. Let's ground ourselves in another affirmation. I am a creator of my reality. Obstacles are stepping stones. I remain focused on my divine mission. Let that truth sink into your spirit. Keep it front and center, because there will be times when the world tries to distract you, to pull you into its noise, to drown you in drama and negativity. That's when you must stand firm and remember exactly who you are. Think of Daniel in the lion's den. He refused to conform, refused to bow to a system that demanded he deny his faith. And what happened? They threw him into the pit, expecting him to be devoured. But Daniel didn't panic. He didn't plead. He simply trusted, and God shut the mouths of the lions. Daniel 6:22. When you walk in divine purpose, even the forces designed to destroy you become powerless. And look at real life. Consider Malala Yousafzai. She was told to be silent, to stay in her place, that girls like her should not dare to seek education. Yet she refused to accept the limitations placed on her. Even when the enemy tried to take her life, she rose stronger than ever, becoming a global voice for change. Society tried to silence her, but her mission was bigger than their fear. So, chosen one, when the world tries to box you in, when it whispers that you should stay quiet, stay small, stay distracted, remember who you are. You are not here to conform. You are here to transform. And every obstacle in your way, it is not a barrier, it is a stepping stone. Keep moving forward, because your mission is far too great to be derailed by the noise. Now, let's talk about how the chosen ones handle setbacks. Do we crumble under pressure? Do we let obstacles define us? Number, we alchemize them. We take what was meant to break us and transform it into something greater. When the world believes we are trapped, when the enemy thinks they have backed us into a corner, we do what we do best. We find hidden exits, we carve out new paths, or we create doors where none existed before. That level of resourcefulness is why we are dangerous. You cannot keep a chosen one down for long, because our willpower is not just personal, it is divine. We are plugged into something far greater than ourselves. That might sound mystical to some, but it is as real as the air you breathe. When you understand that your life holds a purpose beyond mere survival, you unlock reserves of strength that ordinary minds cannot even begin to comprehend. This is why setbacks don't define us, they refine us. Look at Joseph, betrayed, sold into slavery, falsely imprisoned. Anyone else might have given up, but Joseph, he remained steadfast. Even in the darkest pit, he never lost sight of God's plan. And what happened? In due time, he rose to power, second only to Pharaoh, overseeing an entire nation. The very brothers who tried to destroy him had to stand before him, desperate for his mercy. Genesis 50:20. They had written him off, but they had no idea that God was turning every setback into a setup for something greater. And consider someone like Thomas Edison. Before he invented the light bulb, he failed thousands of times. But when asked about those failures, he didn't call them mistakes. He called them steps. He understood something most people don't. The only true failure is giving up. And that is why he succeeded where so many others quit. That is the mindset of the chosen. So, the next time a hater or a hardship tries to box you in, remember this: your ingenuity is limitless. The power within you is not ordinary, it is supernatural. You will always rise, not because of sheer force alone, but because the spirit within you refuses to let you fall. Let your doubters stare in disbelief as their schemes collapse under the weight of their own emptiness. Let them watch as you ascend to heights they once deemed impossible, proving that nothing is more terrifying to your enemies than a powerful soul at peace with itself. And in the end, it's not about them. It never was. It's about you, your mission, your purpose, your gift to the world. Lean into that calling. Harness your challenges as fuel for something greater. Guard your boundaries with unwavering strength. And above all, love deeply, for that is the mark of a true chosen one. That is why you are dangerous. That is why you are unstoppable. And now, chosen one, let's take it even further. Because if you think the journey stops at resilience, you're mistaken. The power of a chosen one isn't just about surviving the storm. It's about learning how to command it. You were never meant to live in a constant state of defense, always reacting to what life throws your way. No, you were meant to move forward, to build, to speak, and to manifest the reality aligned with your divine calling. Think about this. Jesus didn't just endure opposition, he walked in authority. When he faced storms, he didn't panic. He spoke, "Peace, be still," and nature obeyed. Mark 4:39. When he was confronted by demons, he didn't tremble. He cast them out. He understood that divine power wasn't meant to be passive, it was meant to be activated. And as someone chosen, you carry that same fire. So here's the question: are you walking in that power, or are you still playing small? Are you merely dodging obstacles, or are you stepping into your full potential, unshaken and unstoppable? The time for hesitation is over. Every challenge you faced, every betrayal, every setback, it was all training. Your struggles weren't a sign of weakness, they were proof of your calling. Because those who are meant to shake the world must first be refined by it. And here's the truth the world doesn't want you to realize: you are already victorious. The moment you decide to operate in faith instead of fear, in purpose instead of doubt, the enemy loses all power over you. You don't need permission to step into your destiny. You don't need validation from those who never saw your worth to begin with. You have always been chosen. You have always been more. So now, what will you do with that truth? Will you keep waiting for the perfect moment, or will you take your authority and move? Will you let the opinions of the small-minded deter you, or will you walk boldly, knowing that no weapon formed against you shall prosper? Isaiah 54:17. Because here's the final reality: the world fears a chosen one who has fully awakened to their purpose. And once you do, there is nothing left to stop you. Not the whispers of haters, not the weight of your past, not the doubts in your mind. Nothing. Rise, chosen one. The world has no idea what's coming next, but you do. Knowing who you are is one thing, but owning it, that changes everything. The moment you stop questioning your power, The moment you stop waiting for external confirmation is the moment your entire existence shifts. You are no longer reacting to life, you are directing it. The battles you once stressed over now seem insignificant. The opinions that used to weigh you down now barely register. The distractions that once pulled you away from your purpose lose all their grip on you. Because when you truly, deeply, unshakably know that you were always meant to rise, there is no longer a question of if, there is only when. And let me tell you that when is now. You see, the world has spent years trying to convince you that you are powerless, that you should stay small, that your role is to endure rather than overcome. But what happens when the lie no longer works? What happens when a chosen one awakens? The very foundation of the enemy's deception begins to crumble. The system that was designed to keep you in place starts to shake. And suddenly, those who once dismissed you, those who thought you were just another face in the crowd, are forced to acknowledge the undeniable force that you have become. Think about Moses standing before Pharaoh, a man who was once cast aside, who once doubted his own voice, now walking into the halls of the most powerful ruler of his time, not as a beggar, but as a prophet of God. He didn't ask for freedom, he declared it. Let my people go, Exodus 9:1. And when Pharaoh refused, plague after plague came, breaking every illusion of control he thought he had. Because when a chosen one speaks in alignment with their purpose, there is no earthly power that can silence them. So, chosen one, what are you still waiting for? The moment you decide to step into your calling, the chains that once held you will break. You will no longer worry about whether people understand you, because you were never called to be understood. You were called to lead. You will no longer be consumed by past failures, because those failures were never endings. They were the foundation of your elevation. And here's the greatest revelation yet. Nothing can stop you except you. Not your enemies, not your fears, not your past. The only thing that can delay your rise is your own hesitation. And if you've been waiting for a sign to go all in, to stop playing small, to fully embrace the fire within you, this is it. This is your moment. This is your confirmation. Rise, speak, move, create, lead, and watch as the world struggles to keep up with the force you have become. Because in the end, it was never about the obstacles. It was never about the haters. It was never about the setbacks. It was always about you, and whether you would finally choose to see yourself the way God has seen you all along. And now that you do, there is no turning back. And now, chosen one, there is only one thing left to do. Walk in it. No more hesitation, no more second guessing, no more waiting for the right moment, because this is the moment. Everything that has happened up to now, the trials, the setbacks, the betrayals, the long nights of doubt, wasn't to break you. It was to build you, to strip away every illusion, every false belief, every limitation that was never yours to carry. What remains now is the purest version of you, the warrior, the leader, the light bearer who was never meant to blend in. Let me remind you of something. Your steps are ordered. Do you really think everything you've been through was random? Do you really think the resistance you faced is just coincidence? Number. The enemy saw your potential before you did. That's why the battles came early. That's why you were tested in ways others weren't. That's why people turned against you before you even had a chance to rise. Because they felt something in you. Even when you didn't see it yet, they did. And now it's time for you to see it too. Look at David, overlooked, underestimated, dismissed. Even his own father didn't consider him worthy of being chosen, but God did. And when the time came, David didn't hesitate. He didn't wait for permission to step into his calling. He ran toward Goliath with nothing but a slingshot and faith. 1 Samuel 17:48. That's the energy of the chosen. Not timid, not uncertain, but bold, unstoppable, and completely aligned with the power backing them. And here's what happens when you step fully into that energy. The world shifts around you. Doors that were once locked swing open. People who doubted you start to wonder if they miscalculated. The obstacles that once seemed insurmountable crumble under the weight of your persistence. Because when you finally stop questioning your calling and start walking in it, the entire universe bends to make room for what was always meant to be yours. This is why you cannot be stopped. This is why you are dangerous to the forces that seek to control you. Because you have realized the one truth they never wanted you to know. You were never powerless. You were never a pawn in their game. You were always a ruler, a creator, a force of divine will moving through this world with purpose. And now that you know, nothing can contain you. So what's next? Will you shrink back into the comfort of the familiar? Will you let fear trick you into believing you're not ready? Or will you rise, fully, completely, without apology? Because I promise you this, once you decide to own your power, to walk in your divine authority, to move as if you already know the victory is yours, nothing will ever be the same again. The time is now. Step forward, chosen one. The world is waiting. And so, chosen one, now that you stand at the threshold of your destiny, the question remains, will you step through? Because once you do, there is no going back. Once you embrace the truth of who you are, once you move as the unstoppable force you were always meant to be, the world will have no choice but to adjust to you. But make no mistake, the moment you step forward, the resistance will rise. That's the nature of the calling. The enemy does not fight what does not threaten him. Have you ever wondered why life seemed to push against you so hard? Why people underestimated, sabotaged, or turned against you? Why the path to your breakthrough always seemed to be lined with obstacles? It was never because you were weak. It was because you are powerful. Look at Jesus. The moment he stepped into his purpose, opposition came from every direction. The Pharisees plotted, the crowds doubted, even those closest to him wavered. But did he stop? Did he shrink back? Number. He kept moving, he kept teaching, he kept healing, he kept fulfilling what he was sent to do. And in the end, the very forces that thought they had defeated him only played into God's ultimate plan. What was meant for his destruction became the catalyst for his greatest victory. John 19:30. And so it will be for you. Every setback will serve your elevation. Every attack will refine your spirit. Every closed door will redirect you to something greater. This is the way of the chosen. So let them talk. Let them scheme. Let them doubt. None of it will change the outcome. The moment you commit fully to your path, the moment you declare with absolute certainty that you are here to fulfill your divine mission, something shifts in the atmosphere. Chains break. Fear dissolves. The weight of past failures lifts, and you realize you were never losing, you were being prepared. And let's be clear, this is not about arrogance. This is about awareness. You are not better than anyone else, but you are different. You see things others do not. You move in ways others cannot. You carry a fire that does not flicker in the wind, a light that cannot be dimmed by doubt, a force that cannot be stopped by human hands. So what now? Will you keep waiting for another sign, another confirmation? Or will you recognize that this moment, this very moment, is your sign? Because here's the truth. The world is waiting for you to rise, not just for yourself, but for those you are meant to lead, for the lives you are meant to impact, for the legacy you are meant to leave behind. You are not called to exist. You are called to transform. So rise, chosen one. Rise without apology. Rise without hesitation. Rise knowing that every step forward is already secured by the one who called you. Because once you do, the world will never be the same again. You've done what others thought was impossible, and now the haters are left scrambling to catch up. They are running in fear. because they see something in you that they can't ignore, God's divine hand at work. You've stepped into a place of greatness, and nothing can stop you now. Keep walking in faith, and let God continue to use you for His purpose. The impossible is becoming possible in your life, and the world will see the victory God has prepared for you. If this message has inspired you, I encourage you to consider showing your support through a Super Thanks donation. It allows us to reach more people with these life-changing messages, bringing hope and encouragement to all. Whether you decide to donate or not, I want to express my deepest gratitude to you for being a part of this community. Your presence, your likes, comments, and shares all help spread the message of God's love and power. As you move forward, keep shining brightly for all to see. You are walking in favor, and God's protection is upon you. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment letting us know how this message has impacted your life. Sharing this with your friends and family can help bring the light of Christ to those who need it most. May God bless you with abundant peace, joy, and strength as you continue to walk boldly in His purpose for your life. Remember, the best is yet to come, and your breakthrough is on the way. Keep believing and keep trusting. God is with you every step of the way.